Hello there, Force of Will players, and welcome back to another Wander Wednesday. This week, we're bringing you a deck from a ruler that didn't really see a whole lot of play, even though it was kind of touted at the time it was released to have one of the best cards ever printed, to which I still hold that ideology and thought process for it as well. And that ruler in question is going to be Shiva. So this is going to be a tempo Shiva list. We've seen some other, I'm pretty sure some other lists have been floating around and stuff like that. Shiva is expected to potentially do quite well in the new format. With the amount of like will cheating and stuff like that that's kind of gone away, you don't really see a whole lot of it anymore. Shiva himself gets a lot better because we talked about it at the time, but Rig Veda is one of the most powerful cards they've ever printed, if not the most powerful card they've ever printed. I'm on the one of the most powerful card they've ever printed. The thing with Rig Veda is that it is allowed to cancel, so right, it can cancel a spell, an activate or automatic ability, and destroy an entity for 3 will. All of those things, doing any of those for 1 will is incredibly mana efficient. Doing any of those for 2 will is because, so you get to do, if you're Shiva, you get to do 1 for 1 will, 2 for 2 will, or 3 for 3 will, right? So at 2 will, at 1 will, the card becomes incredibly efficient. You are allowed, you're a Lorite, but you also have the option of just destroying something if you need to. The thing at 2 will is it becomes incredibly value efficient. So it's still mana efficient in most cases, because a lot of the time what you'll do at 2 will is you'll cancel a spell or a automatic ability and then destroy something. So like, for example, if you take like Typhon, for example, you have, I order Echidna, right? I can stifle your Echidna and then also kill it in response if I want to do that. So that's a lot of the time what you'll do with 2 will, which means that at that 2 will value, you're basically trading 2 effects for 1 will each, which you do with like other cards, right? Like our only other stifles Lorite, our other cancel like most efficiently is like Garyon and Farah's spell, right? They're all 1 will effects. So you're getting 2 of them for 2 will, but in 1 card. So now it's still trading will neutral, at least, and then it's trading value positive, which is why Rig Veda is so good. You very rarely need to pay 3 for it. We saw it with like Carlina and things like that in New Frontiers because it could sink the will into it, but it's just such a powerful and efficient card and versatile card as well. The main issue that Shiva had, I personally believe, is that it didn't really have a way to ramp stuff, so it didn't really have good ramping options for stones and things like that. It has its arena expansion, which is in the sideboard, which we'll get to, but they weren't like great options. The other thing was that Shiva didn't really have a good resonator. So like Shiva's resonators was like Chamimi, Megalanica, like things like that, but they weren't incredibly impactful. Chamimi could sometimes be negative towards you because the shots on her would have to hit things, so you could potentially hit your own stuff. It was a very large will investment in order to get to the right thing. And then if you go away from the Mimi tribe stuff and then go into like just efficient like wind resonators, so now you're playing like Prisia and Prisia boxes and things like that, you have that efficiency, but now you need to do will sinks into Prisia in order to get it online, and you're not cheating will in any way like Welser would, like Feasting would, like things like that. So the deck was just slower and inefficient. But now that we've kind of lost a lot of that, it's either been banned or just combination banned, basically banned. It's been moved out. We now can play this like slower kind of potential tempo game. So I chose to go with Shaka. So I picked Shaka, one of the new cards released, as kind of like the build around type deal with like the resonators and things like that. You can do Prisia. Prisia is totally fine. You would change a little bit of the like end of this that we'll get into. But what I mainly wanted to build with this was kind of just a tempo deck that played for a bunch of value, played card positive on a lot of things, and then just kind of protected Shaka and used Shaka as its win con. So Shaka itself, right, as a single green will, it's a Mimi tribe, and it doesn't have any form of real interaction on its own, but it does have, you can pay a green will to pump your board by +4/+4, and if Shaka himself is revolutioned, instead you would double any increases that you gain, and any minus is actually an increase. So any effect that your opponent would potentially give you to minus your board, things like Final Battle and Typhon, Schmel if people are playing Loki, like other things like that, would actually give you an increase, and then that increase would double. And because you're Shiva, Shiva's order gives +2/+2 to all J resonators, so Shaka makes it +4. So Shaka is just an 8/8 for 1, basically just a vanilla with Pierce in Shiva, which is still fine for what we're trying to do. But we also have 4 Shiva's Flame Aura. So Shiva's Flame Aura allows us to give +600 attack and swiftness until end of turn, and then draws a card. And if we're Shiva, and this targets a Mimi tribe that you hadn't already played a Flame Aura or Wind Aura on, you get to play Flame Aura for free. So for us, we play a Shaka, we order Shaka. Most of the time you're going to just have a Shaka ordered. That's just how the deck functions. You don't need to order anything else. You don't want to order anything else. With Shaka ordered, he'll be an 8/8, and then you get to Shiva's Flame Order Shaka. It gains +1200 attack, so it now has 2000 attack and swiftness. And you're technically down 1 card because of the Shaka, because Shiva's Flame Aura replaces itself. Moving on to Shiva enters the Game of Gods. Shaka also made this card incredibly good. So this allows you to give J resonators you control +2/+2 and Eternal, and you can deal the total attack of J resonators you control to a target, and if it's greater than 3000, you draw 3 cards. So not only is it a protection spell for Shaka, it is also a value card, because it plays for 1 and you draw 3 typically, right? So the way a lot of this with how the Shaka stuff will work is if you have like sniper shots, which are down here, other things like that, you have 1 pump and like a Flame Aura, and then Shiva enters the Game of Gods. That I believe that's enough, right? So you would be at 8/8, you do 1 pump, that's another +8/+8, you're at 16, and then this would put you at 28, and then this would put you at 3k. So like if you go 1 pump, Flame Aura, Shiva enters the Game of Gods, which is, if you already have the Shaka, it's a 2 will investment, you draw 3. And your Shaka now has Eternal, your Shaka still has Pierce, because it just has Pierce, it has Swiftness, right? So it's just very efficient draw value. Rigveda, I've already talked about. Shiva is also the only deck that has 8 true stifles. There is Witch with a Pointy Hat, and there is technically Ares, but Witch with a Pointy Hat and Ares both have certain stipulations. So like Witch with a Pointy Hat has Seal 4, Ares requires new 12 Olympians, so if you're not playing Zeus, you just won't have any in play or around immediately for Ares' Enter to work off of, plus Ares' 2 will, so on and so forth, right? So Shiva's really one of the few decks that can play 8 true stifles in the form of 4 Lorite and the form of 4 Rigveda, and stifles are a lot more powerful nowadays, especially with order and things like that. The other thing is Shiva has a 1 mana cancel spell, and for any will amount, and most decks don't have that. So most decks will have Garyon, which is a 1 mana cancel spell for 1 mana cards, or Fair Spell, which is a 1 mana cancel spell for quick cast cards. But Rigveda also works on sorcery speed spells, other things like that. So it's just a very good removal, tempo, cancel tool, right? Garyon has just another cancel spell for us. It also can function as a removal tool. You can see our stones down here. It can function as a potential removal tool once we get to a higher seal value or hit Magic Stone of the 6th Age. Fair Spell just hits quick cast cards for 1 will. Lorite, best stifle in the game. Sniper Shot is another removal tool, right? So because of the the effect of the counters, like you would give 4+1/+1 counters to Shiva. I'd actually have to check if counters are considered an effect. I'm actually not sure about that, but even if they're not, at its base value, you have an ordered Shiva. You put Sniper Shot on Shiva, or not on Shiva. You have an ordered Shaka. You put Sniper Shot on Shaka, and Shaka would be a 12/12. 12/12 is good when you fight like something as a 12/12. You're going to kill most things, if not everything, and it hits J resonators, so you can hit everything. Plus, because you're Shiva, you draw a card. So this card functions as a value / like tempo increase, because you play it, you kill something, so that's 1 for 1, and then you draw another card, so you go value positive. Origin of the 7 lands. Origin is to reveal Drywing. That's really all it's for. We just have the 3 because we don't really have like a Dark Alice discard outlet. You could potentially play Dark Alice in here, but I didn't really want to. I mainly focused on mono green. So like Origin can reveal Drywings for us to get a little bit of ramp that other decks are also doing, in addition to also slowing down other decks' ramps that they have with their Drywings. Trow is just actual ramp for us, so we could potentially get ahead in stone count. It also, because it searches a deck for a 1 cost, it can get us Lorite, it can also get us Shaka. So if we need either the tempo of Shaka or the value, like the stifle for Lorite, things like that, we have search targets under Trow. In addition to ramping stones, which we'll get to with Spirit Stone. Well, we can talk about it now. Spirit Stone is just a win stone, but you can banish it to draw a card. So with Trow, ramping stones actually gives us more value. He replaces himself with another resonator, right? Either Shaka or Lorite, and then if you hit a Spirit Stone, that can also function as another replacement of value later. You don't go up in will, but you go up in value. Things like that. Giant Bird of Maat was just an interesting card that I found. You could not play this, or you could play like 2 or lower mounts or anything like that, but it has basically inheritance. You pay a green, you discard it, and you give a J Resonator flying, and you draw a card. So it will always replace itself for that single green with the flying, but if you target a Mimi tribe, you draw 2, so it's actually a value increase if you target Shaka to give Shaka flying, which is, I mean, it's decent to me. So for like that reason, that's why I put the giant birds in there. They're not searchable or anything like that, but they do kind of have that functionality with Shaka, in addition to just always being able to replace themselves. So if you need like another card or anything like that, like you're in like a bad position, you can always just give your opponent's J Resonator flying and then draw a card. If your opponent has a Mimi tribe, hey, you have more targets as well. So there's that portion too. Stones, I talked about Spirit Stone already. Magic Stone of Knowledge, again, we're primarily in green. Like a lot of the early stuff that we're doing is in green. Really the only time we're paying other colors is if we need to play Rig Veda for like 2 or 3, or if we're trying to play Garyon for 5. Otherwise, none of this, or we're trying to play multiple Shiva's Flame Auras, right? Otherwise, none of this is, all of it is just predominantly green. And then Magic Stone of Moonshade, same reasoning. It gives us access to the other colors should we need it. I mean, these could also just be like a Gusting Skies and then a like Blasting Waves. Like if you want to do that instead of the Moonshades, that's also fine. Just to hit like all the different colors for us. And then we have Arena Expansion Mimi Tribe Festival, because why not? It also searches for Shaka. So if you have a Shaka in play and then need to search another Shaka, because you would only play it for free, right? So you may play this card without paying its cost if the total attack of J Resonator's control is greater than 3,000. So you would play this if you just have a Shaka in play that's already buffed, but it gives you access to more like mana ramp in because it recovers your stones. Rogue Spectator is just a way to stop your opponent from gaining life. That's its primary function, and then we've talked about the 4 Drywings already. So this is the deck list for the week. Again, it's just a different kind of just 1-for-1 type full tempo deal with Shiva. I like this type of play. I like mid-range a lot of the time, especially when it focuses just kind of around like protect your one main piece. There are other options that you could do. You could put Wind of Asgard into the deck for more barrier type things. Altising Secret Hideout with Shahrazad's. Dinner Time, try to do something like that. There are so many different avenues that you can get, which is why I've loved this deck building series for Wander that we've been doing each week. But that will be the video for the week. Thank you all so much for watching. Do look forward to my top 10 cards coming out tomorrow. Top 10 cards from Game of Gods Revolution. Do look forward to that, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.